These 5 teams are the worst in baseball in 2024, and their future might not get better anytime soon. I will analyze why they are so bad and what could their future look like. The reason I chose these teams is very simple: the worst 5 records in the majors as of making this video. If I was using a different criteria, I think that there are some other teams that could be more worthy of being included in this worst 5 list. But to make things simple, I will be looking at these teams. The worst teams in baseball. In terms of winning percentage, the Angels have the 5th worst team in baseball, and they have not been a good team in a long time, having not made the playoffs since the 2014 season, which is tied for the longest playoff drought in MLB. They've had a losing record in 8 straight seasons, and this year they will not make the playoffs as well. The Angels have had some very rough years in the past decade, even while having future Hall of Famers Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and Shohei Ohtani. They've had players win the MVP award in 4 seasons, since the last time they made the playoffs. Unlike some of the other teams in this list, the Angels do invest in their team, consistently having one of the top 10 payrolls in the last decade. One of the main reasons fans have been frustrated with the team is that their front office has not been able to create a good team around their stars and have wasted their talents. Mike Trout has been an Angel for 14 seasons and has only made the playoffs once. Shohei Ohtani was there for 6 seasons and he never made the playoffs. Jerry Dipoto, Billy Eppler, and Perry Minasian have failed to build a true playoff contender, even while having financial support from owner Arte Moreno, who is also part of the problem, and fans have been calling for him to sell the team for some time now. In 2024, the Angels have been bottom 5 in the league in runs scored and runs allowed. Losing Mike Trout early in the season hurt them a lot offensively. The Angels offense has an 89 OPS plus, with only 3 qualified hitters having an OPS above league average. Before moving to their pitching, I want to mention Anthony Rendon, one of the worst contracts in the league. In 2024, he has played 37 games while having a salary of $38.5 million. So for every game that he has played, he's been paid just over $1 million. Paying that much money to a player that cannot play more than 58 games per season is insane, even without mentioning that he has a 74 OPS plus this year. I do not want to get too much into Rendon's contract because this video is not about that. But paying $167.8 million for 3.5 BWAR is mind-blowing. The Angels also paid $125 million for 3.1 BWAR to Josh Hamilton, so maybe throwing away their money is something they like to do. The Angels pitching staff this year is not very good. They rank 26th in ERA and 25th in runs allowed. They have a collective 96 ERA+. They lack depth, as they have 5 qualified pitchers with an ERA plus higher than 110, but after that they have no other quality arms, outside of Ben Joyce, who has only pitched 26 innings. Command has been an issue for the Angels, as they rank 28th in walks allowed. The Angels have a lot of holes in the roster, with a lot of below average players and some bad contracts. They do not hit well or pitch well, but in regards to their future, they have some interesting pieces. The Angels have a very interesting young core in my opinion. Since July 8th, Zach Neto, Nolan Schanuel, Joe Adell, and Mickey Moniak have been very hot at the plate, finally showing signs of developing into good players. In addition to those players, Logan O'Hoppe and Luis Rengifo have been good players this year, with Rengifo drawing a lot of trade interest with his 300 batting average and 763 OPS. And Logan O'Hoppe becoming a good catcher with a 108 OPS plus and a 2.3 WAR in 101 games. I think that their most important young player is Zach Neto. The Angels have a recent history of pushing their players through the minors quickly, and Neto was not the exception. He was drafted 13th overall in the 2022 draft, and by 2023 he was in the majors. He struggled in his first year with a 685 OPS, but in his second year he has improved a lot at the plate, raising it all the way to 794 while playing good defense at shortstop. He is ranked 15th in baseball with a 4.0 BWAR, 5th among shortstops. The combination of young players in the majors and interesting players in the minors could be what finally turns the Angels into a playoff team. Their minor league system is not deep, but they have interesting players, led by Caden Dana, who is their #1 prospect and has been having a good season in AA. They also have George Klassen, who was acquired from the Phillies in the Carlos Estevez trade and is having a good season across 4 levels. In my opinion, their most intriguing prospect is their 2024 first-round pick, Christian Moore, who is hitting .543 with a 1693 OPS and 6 home runs in 8 games since being signed by the Angels. With their track record of pushing their top prospects quickly through the minors, I would not be surprised if he gets called up in September. In the pitching side, they also have some interesting pieces, such as their ace Tyler Anderson, who's having a phenomenal season, posting a ERA plus of 144 in 141 innings pitched, and 25-year-old flamethrower Jose Soriano, who has the fastest fastball among qualified starting pitchers in the game. They also have another young, promising flamethrower in Ben Joyce, who has an ERA plus of 161 in 26 innings pitched. He has only allowed 3 runs in his last 24 2/3. The last thing I will mention as a thing to look forward in the Angels' future is Mike Trout. Their franchise legend is their most important player, and if he can return from the knee injury and look like the Mike Trout we know, then things might be able to turn around for the Angels. If things go the Angels' way, which rarely happens, they could improve in 2025 and 2026. Maybe even making the playoffs thanks to the expanded format, but they need their young players to develop and help from their superstar. Their future has hope more than other teams on this list, and if the front office starts making good signings, the Angels might be in a better position than a lot of teams in the MLB. Surprisingly, the A's are not the worst team in baseball. They don't even break the bottom 3 in winning percentage. Although last year they were the laughingstock of the majors, this year they have been better, even while ownership refuses to improve the team. The A's have been bad for a while now, losing 282 games since 2022. Their last winning season was in 2021. There are 2 main reasons why the A's have been bad for the last couple of years. First, they trade their best players, Olson, Semien, Bassett, Murphy. And second, their owner is awful. The A's have long been linked to a move to Las Vegas, and their owner John Fisher has enraged the fans, which has caused attendance to drop. He has used that as an argument to move the team. Fans have been very vocal about their frustration with the team's commitment to winning and playing in Oakland, organizing reverse boycotts to show that there are fans in Oakland and that a lack of investment in the team is a problem. They've had a bottom 2 payroll in baseball for the last 3 years. In 2024, they had been better than in 2023. This year, they ranked 30th in batting average, 27th in OPS, with an OPS plus slightly above the league average at 101. Their pitching has also been better, but still underwhelming. They ranked 23rd in ERA and 24th in runs allowed, while having a 93 ERA plus. Their pitching issues stem from their lack of quality in the rotation. They have no starting pitchers with an ERA plus above league average. Before going into what they have that is not bad, I want to mention the disappointing season of Zach Gelof. After having a strong debut season in 2023, hitting 14 home runs with a 134 OPS plus, he has regressed a lot in his second season to an 83 OPS plus. Last season, Gelof looked as the building block for the future of the A's, but this year he has not been able to live up to that billing. Another negative I see about the A's is that they have not been able to develop starting pitching lately. Former top prospects like Ken Waldichuk and Kyle Muller have had terrible numbers in the majors, and they do not have a potential front-of-the-line starter in their organization, at least not one that I can identify right now. After seeing how bad the A's are, I now have to recognize what they have that is not bad. The biggest thing is that the swinging A's are top 5 in baseball in home runs, which is very surprising since they were 20th in 2023. Their offense has improved by going from 30th in runs to 25th. Their offense is their strength, and it's led by one of the most underrated players in the game, Brent Rooker. After having an all-star season in his first campaign in the green and gold, Rooker has continued to improve at the plate, raising his OPS by more than 100 points and having an OPS plus of 169. He has also hit 29 home runs in just 104 games. Last year, he hit 30 in 137 games. Even though he has been one of the best hitters in the American League this year, he was not selected for the All-Star game. Rooker is a very good player, but considering his age and the history of the A's trading away their best players, I don't think he's the foundation in which the A's should build their team around. Their foundation should be built around Lawrence Butler, JJ Bleday, and a couple of other prospects that I will discuss later in the video. 23-year-old Lawrence Butler is having a much better sophomore campaign in the big leagues after struggling as a rookie last year. He has almost doubled his OPS plus, going from 62 to 120, and has more than tripled his home run total from last year in only double the amount of games. Butler is a streaky player, and he will have to find a way to be more consistent at the plate, but when he's on a hot streak, he's very good. From July 9th to July 30th, he had a .412 batting average with a 1371 OPS and 8 home runs in 17 games. JJ Bleday has also improved a lot. The former 4th overall pick has improved his OPS by 30 points and has also cut down strikeouts, going from 23.8 to 17.9. He is starting to show why he was picked so high in the draft and could be a very solid player for the Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas A's. A brief honorable mention I want to make is Tyler Soderstrom. The 22-year-old was the A's #1 prospect from 2021 through 2023, and after a terrible first season in 2023, he has improved in 2024. There is still a lot of improvement needed before he becomes what the A's thought he could become, but he's on the right track. This year he has raised his OPS, going from 472 to 711, and hit more home runs than last year. His OPS plus is 103, so he still has to improve more if he wants to become an important piece for the A's. Looking at their minor league system, there are 2 players that catch my eye. Their #1 prospect, Jacob Wilson, and their 4th overall selection from this year's draft, Nick Kurtz. Wilson was selected in the 2023 draft 6th overall, and since signing with the A's, he has raked at every stop he's made. In 26 games in 2023, he had an .866 OPS. In 2024 in the minors, he has been way better, hitting .438 with 7 home runs and an .1161 OPS in 46 games. His strong performance earned him a promotion to the big leagues, and in his debut he went 1-for-1. Unfortunately, he had to be taken out of the game due to a hamstring injury. Nick Kurtz was one of the best prospects in the draft after hitting 61 home runs with a .1235 OPS in college. He is a first baseman with well above average power to all fields, as well as being a complete hitter. Scouts believe he could be as good as Jim Thome, who hit 612 home runs in his career. Kurtz, Wilson, Butler, and Soderstrom could be very scary for opposing pitching staffs in the future. Saving the best for last, I want to talk about Mason Miller. Mason Miller throws hard. If you have followed the 2024 season, you know that. He's been one of the best relievers in the game thanks to his devastating fastball as well as his nasty slider. He has the fastest fastball in the game, and his baseball savant page is filled with dark red. He looks like a superstar closer that could help the A's win a lot of games in the upcoming seasons. He has a 44.8 K percentage. There have been rumors about him moving to the starting rotation, which could finally give the A's their frontline starter they want. But whether he moves to the rotation or remains as a closer, he's an electric pitcher that the A's fans are going to enjoy for a long time. If he doesn't get traded, of course. The A's have a lot of interesting pieces, and in terms of losing games, I think the worst has passed. But with the impending relocation, I can understand why fans might not be thrilled about the future of the organization. If what Fisher said is true, and the A's will spend more going forward, the A's could be headed back to the playoffs sooner rather than later. But I will believe it when I see it. As it often happens, the A's will need to develop their young players in order to become a playoff team again. If the A's trade Rooker, hopefully it is a good trade that will give them players that will become part of the future, and it wouldn't hurt if they are pitchers. The Athletics will have better times ahead wherever they end up playing. The Miami Marlins are a very strange franchise. They made the playoffs in 2023, and everyone assumed that in the offseason they were going to invest more on the team to make the playoffs again. But they did not. After making the playoffs, they decided to start a rebuild. In 2024, the team looks awful. They have traded anyone of value and lowered their payroll to unfathomable levels. They have the lowest payroll in baseball by half of the next lowest payroll. And since 2018, they have been towards the bottom of the league. The Marlins seem to enjoy being terrible, as when they actually manage to have a good season, they seem to not like it and then become one of the worst teams in the league. In 2020, they made the playoffs, and in 21, they lost 95 games. In 1997, they won the World Series, and in 1998, they had the worst record in baseball. They won again in 2003, and after that they did not go back to the postseason until 2020. The Marlins seem to be allergic to building sustained success. In 2024, the Marlins have done a sensational job of being bad. They ranked 29th in runs and 28th in runs allowed. They have managed to do such a great job at being bad this season thanks to injuries to some of their important players in the rotation and dismantling their lineup and sending every decent hitter they had to other teams. In the offseason, they let Jorge Soler leave after hitting 36 home runs with an 853 OPS. Fortunately, they were able to replace him with Tim Anderson, who hit 1 home run with a 582 OPS. They gave up on the 2024 season very early in the year. In May 4th, they sent two-time batting champion Luis Arraez to the Padres. On July 28th, they sent what could have been argued as their most famous player to the New York Yankees. Only 4 players from their opening day lineup are still on the team. Their lineup is as uncompetitive as it gets, only having 1 player with an above-average OPS plus, Jake Burger at 107. Tim Anderson had a 28 OPS plus before getting cut by the team. They ranked 27th in home runs and 29th in OPS and have an OPS plus of 79. They probably could have used Jorge Soler this year. Their pitching staff is better, although it is still very bad. They rank 27th in ERA and have an ERA plus of 97, which is going to get worse by the end of the season after trading anyone of value they had in their pitching staff. They got rid of their best reliever Tanner Scott, and their best starter of the season was placed on the 60-day IL with the left index strain. Jesus Luzardo is also in the 60-day IL with a back strain. Injuries have been the main culprit for their bad pitching this year. Eury Perez missed the 2024 season having to undergo Tommy John surgery. And former Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara will also miss the 24 season as he is also recovering from Tommy John surgery. There really isn't a lot of good on this Marlins team. They do have interesting arms that could come back from injury in 2025 like Perez, Alcantara, Weathers, and Luzardo, while also having other young pitchers that have potential to develop into good major league pitchers like Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, and top prospects Thomas White and Noble Meyer. Their most recent fire sale has also brought some very interesting prospects to the system. Robbie Snelling was a top 100 prospect acquired from the Padres in the Tanner Scott trade. Connor Norby was also a good acquisition from the loaded Orioles system, and he could be an important piece in the future for the Marlins. The Jazz Chisholm trade also brought back a very interesting prospect. Dominican catcher Agustin Ramirez is having a very strong season in the minors, hitting 22 home runs with an 878 OPS. He could be the catcher of the future for the Marlins. But the trade that I liked the most was the AJ Puk trade. The player they got in return is Davison de los Santos, corner infielder that is raking this year in the minors, hitting 33 home runs with an OPS of 1001. He has as much raw power as anyone in the minors, and he could become the middle of the order bat the Marlins need. In the 2024 draft, they selected PJ Morlando, 16th overall. He was ranked 43rd. He was selected out of high school, so will most likely be in the minors developing for a while. The Marlins are a tough franchise to evaluate. They have the most recent playoff appearance on this list, but are as bad as any other team on this list. They are famous for trading their best players and not spending much, and when they actually give their players money, they end up trading them as well. The future of the Marlins has a lot of question marks. They have interesting pieces, but their development is of the utmost importance. Health is also going to be huge for them. If they want to build sustained success, they need their best arms to come back healthy and their young arms to stay healthy. Their lineup desperately needs a player to build around. Norby, De Los Santos, and Ramirez could be the core of that lineup going forward. And if they develop into good players, they could be very important trade pieces for the Marlins in the next fire sale. The Rockies are bad and have been for a couple of years now. They have not made the playoffs in 2018, and with the roster and the division they play in, they are probably not going to make the playoffs in a while. The Rockies are different from the A's and the Marlins, in that even though they are bad, they are not a team that I would consider cheap. They are not a team that will go over the luxury tax, but they are willing to make some investments to help the team. Since 2018, they have been middle of the pack in payroll, going as low as 25th and as high as 7th. In 2024, they have the 14th highest payroll in baseball, so they do spend money. The problem is that they are not very good when it comes to spending that money. In a very similar situation to the Angels, they seem to like to throw away their money. They have made some very bad signings lately, frontlined by Chris Bryant, who has forgotten how to hit in his Rockies tenure and has developed a worrisome injury history. Another bad contract would be Ian Desmond. They handed the former shortstop turned center fielder Ian Desmond $70 million to play first base. And they also paid Kyle Freeland $12.9 million per year to have a 4.8 ERA. The Rockies are bad for the same reason they are always bad: their pitching. The altitude at Coors Field, coupled with the huge outfield, creates a hostile environment for pitchers. Coors Field has the highest park factor in baseball, and well above the second highest, 112 to 107. The Rockies have the worst ERA in baseball and the most runs allowed in baseball, with an ERA plus of 82, the worst in the league. Their pitching staff is the Tim Anderson of pitching staffs. They have one pitcher with an ERA plus above league average, reliever Victor Budnick at a 117. There really isn't much to say about the 2024 Rockies pitchers other than they are bad. Very, very bad. Their lineup is better, but not enough to compensate for the pitching. They are middle of the pack in home runs, OPS, and batting average. It is a mediocre lineup, but since they play in Coors Field, the expectation is that they should be way better. Their team OPS plus is 91. OPS plus accounts for pack factors. Before moving on to the good, I have to talk about Kris Bryant. The former NL MVP is going down as one of the worst contracts in recent history. In his first 3 years with Colorado, he has never played more than 80 games. In his first season, he was good. Not MVP level good, but good. He had an 851 OPS with 5 home runs in 42 games. The low amount of home runs and the missed time were concerning, but he was productive. The next 2 years, he has been awful. He has averaged 58 games per season with a 663 OPS and just 12 home runs, while getting paid $28 million. A disastrous signing for the Rockies. That being said, things are not going to get much better in this segment. The Rockies have some good pieces in their franchise, but there are not many. Their major league roster has no quality pitchers going forward, so no point in talking about that. Their lineup, however, has some interesting players. Center fielder Brenton Doyle shows promise of becoming a very good player for the Rockies. He has the highest OPS on the team while being a good center fielder. 2.2 DWAR in 2023 and 0.8 DWAR in 2024. He also leads the team in home runs, 20, and stolen bases, 23. Another interesting piece is shortstop Ezequiel Tovar. He has been an average hitter, 103 OPS plus, with very good defense short at 22. He is signed through 2030, and he could be the centerpiece of the Rockies lineup for the future. Their last player I want to mention from their 2024 team is Nolan Jones. The left fielder had a phenomenal season in 2023 with a 931 OPS and 20 home runs in 160 games. He looked as the future of the franchise, but in 2024 he has not been the same, dealing with injuries and lack of performance. In 49 games, he has only hit 3 home runs with a 623 OPS. Hopefully he can bounce back to his 2023 level of play. The Rockies minor league system has some very interesting players, but maybe their number one prospect is their most important. Chase Dollander is the 23rd best prospect in baseball. Taken 9th overall in the 2023 draft, the right-hander out of the University of Tennessee has been outstanding in his first pro season. In 89 innings pitched, he has 130 strikeouts with a 2.62 ERA. He looks like a future ace, something that the Rockies desperately need. His K/9 of 13.1 could play very well in a Rockies pitching staff that has the worst K/9 in the big leagues. Dollander is the only pitching prospect in their top 10, which is surprising considering that they have the worst pitching in the league. Offensively, they have some very interesting pieces. Adael Amador, Jordan Beck, Yanquiel Fernandez, and Zach Bean could be pieces in the future. Amador has struggled in 2024 after having a very strong campaign last year. Beck has been outstanding this year in the minors with a 935 OPS and 8 home runs. He got called up to the big leagues, but he has struggled a lot. Yanquiel Fernandez is having a good season as well, and his above average power could be very useful at Coors. Lastly, they could have gotten the best hitter available in the 2024 draft, Charlie Condon. Condon won the Golden Spikes Award as he hit a BBCOR era record 37 home runs with a 1565 OPS in 60 games for the Georgia Bulldogs. Condon could be the face of the franchise and a perennial all-star if things go to plan. The Rockies are going to have a tough time in the future. The NL West has very good teams that are not going to get worse anytime soon. And the Rockies' biggest weak point is not going to get much better in the future, even if Chase Dollander does become a star. One pitcher is not enough, and Colorado will have to find a way to have a decent pitching staff if they want to compete. Offensively, things look much better. Charlie Condon looks like he could become an all-time slugger, and complementary pieces like Tobar, Doyle, and the rest of the previously mentioned prospects could form a very dangerous lineup in Coors for years to come. If Nolan Jones finds his 2023 form again, things could really look good offensively for the Rockies. And if Kris Bryant somehow remembers how to hit and stays healthy, that contract could be remembered better in the future. Ultimately, the key of the Rockies' future is finding a way to have decent pitching. At this point in the season, everyone knows that the White Sox have been pushing to become the worst team in MLB history, and they might actually have a chance to reach their infamous goal. They recently lost 21 games in a row, and losing is bound to continue. They are 15 games back of the second worst team in the MLB, and their minus 241 run differential is the worst in baseball by 52 runs. After winning the division in 2021 and looking like a potential perennial playoff team, the White Sox have imploded into the worst team in baseball. They are on pace to win 39 games, and if I'm being honest, that sounds like too many. They could have the worst season since the 1916 Philadelphia Athletics, who had a winning percentage of .235. We have not seen this terrible level of play in a very long time. They make the 2023 Oakland Athletics look like a World Series champion. The White Sox are bad for a lot of reasons. They rank last in runs, batting average, OPS, expected WOBA, OPS+, and walks allowed, among others. They also rank 29th in ERA, home runs allowed, and ERA+. Looking at their lineup, they have only one hitter with an OPS above 100. Never mind, he plays for the Cardinals now. Their leader in home runs is Paul DeJong, who now plays for the Royals. Their highest paid player is Andrew Benintendi. He has a .634 OPS and a minus 1.6 BWAR and is getting paid $15 million. Their leader in at-bat is Andrew Vaughn, who has been a below-average first baseman with a 97 OPS+. Everywhere you look in this lineup, you see players that are performing up to the level of the worst team in baseball. In their rotation, they actually have some good pitchers. Eric Fady has been a very good pitcher in 2024 with a .311 ERA. Oh yeah, he also plays for the Cardinals now. Their second best pitcher and arguably the only ray of light in the 2024 season is Garrett Crochet. The young lefty has been good this year. In 100 pre-All-Star game innings, he had a .302 ERA. He has lost his effectiveness after the All-Star game due to his previous career high in innings pitched being 54, but it was a very good season for Crochet. Other than Crochet and the trade of Fady, there really hasn't been another good pitcher on the team. The only candidate would be Jonathan Cannon, who has been slightly above league average with an ERA plus of 107. Analyzing the White Sox roster is painful. They're really awful. The White Sox have very few good things in their organization. Luis Robert is their best player, but after having a breakout year in 2023, hitting 38 home runs with an OPS of 130, he has struggled in 2024. This year he has dealt with injuries and his production at the plate has taken a hit. In 2024, he has an OPS plus of 83 with 12 home runs in 63 games. Besides Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert, the Major League roster has some intriguing players. Cannon could be a solid back of their rotation starter in the future, and Drew Thorpe, who was part of the return package in the Dylan Cease trade, could also be a good starter in the future. In 2023, he had a .252 ERA with 182 strikeouts in 139 innings pitched, winning Pitching Prospect of the Year in the minors. This year he has struggled a lot in his call-up to the majors, so he will need to figure things out. Pitching is the strength of the White Sox minor league system. Their number one pitching prospect Noah Schultz is having a very good season in the minors, with an ERA of .261 and a K/9 of 12. He is the number one prospect in the organization and the 12th best prospect in the MLB. Their first round pick in the 2024 draft, Hagen Smith, also looks like a potential front-of-the-line starter. The lefty had a .204 ERA with a record-setting 17.3 K/9 for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He has a fastball that can touch 100 miles per hour and a devastating slider. He was arguably the most dominant pitcher in college last year. He had a 17 strikeout performance in 6 innings against Oregon State. Offensively, things are not as good. Their former number one prospect Colson Montgomery is having a bad year at AAA, hitting just .207 with 13 home runs. He draws comparisons to Corey Seager, but he will need to find his 2023 form again. If he does, he could be a franchise cornerstone. Another interesting prospect is Edgar Quero. The catcher acquired in the Lucas Giolito-Reynaldo Lopez trade looks like a future star. He has a very good bat for a catcher, hitting 16 home runs with an 845 OPS across 2 levels in the minors. The future does not look good for the White Sox. They're going to be bad for a while, especially in their lineup. None of their young players looks like a franchise player, and their minor league system is not very deep. Montgomery's regression is something the White Sox cannot afford. He is their best hitting prospect and they will need him in the future. Their young pitchers could be the answer. Developing a good pitching staff is essential for the White Sox future. I think they should trade Luis Robert for some good hitters that they can develop and build their team around. Having Lou Bob in the team in 2025 would be a waste. The 2024 White Sox are historically bad, and the 2025 White Sox are not going to get much better. If you're a White Sox fan, I am very sorry for you. After analyzing the present and future of those teams, I have come to a decision of how to rank them going forward. I will be going from best future to worst future. At number 5, I will rank the Los Angeles Angels. They have some very intriguing young pieces in Neto, Shandwell, Ohopi, and Christian Moore. And if Mike Trout comes back and plays well, they are going to be much better than last year. They still have a lot of holes in their roster, but if they find a way to make good signings in the offseason, this team could sneak into a playoff spot in 2025 or 2026. There are a lot of ifs with the Angels, but in my opinion, they are the team with the best chance of making it out of the bottom of the league. At number 4, I have the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies know what the problem is. They have not found a solution yet, and their success depends on it. As I discussed, their pitching future looks very bad, except for one single ray of sunshine, Chase Dolan. The right-hander really looks like a future ace, and he might be the one to finally have some sustained success at Coors. If he does, I have no doubts in my mind that the Rockies will pay him a lot of money. Their lineup is going to be good, and I cannot wait to see Charlie Condon hitting home runs at Coors Field. He's going to enjoy hitting there a lot. Jones and Brenton Doyle could become very good supporting pieces. The division is tough, but the Rockies could be a tough team to play in the coming years. At number 3, I have the Oakland A's. I think the roster had arguments to be placed higher than the Rockies, but their stadium situation makes the future seem more uncertain. They have some very good young players like Jacob Wilson, Lawrence Butler, and Nick Kurtz. They could become stars in the future. In the present, they already have some stars in Mason Miller and Brent Rooker. The Athletics will face some tough times ahead outside of the field, but maybe the worst has passed. At number 2, I will go with the Miami Marlins. The biggest issue I have with the Marlins is their lack of commitment to winning. Whenever they manage to develop good players, they get rid of them as soon as possible, and I'm sure things are going to continue that way. Their future has some interesting players. With the return of their arms, they could improve a lot, and if some of the recently acquired prospects develop, things could look good for Miami in the future. But how long will that last? How long until they have another fire sale? I don't know. I want to believe in the Marlins' future, but I can't. At number 1, I have the Washington Nationals. Just kidding. Of course I have the Chicago White Sox. They are awful and things are just getting started. They are going to be bad for a while. They have some hope with their young arms, but the lineup is going to be bad for a long time. This is going to be a long rebuild. Good luck, White Sox fans. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. See you next time.